Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. I hope you've been doing well. This is a Q&A to celebrate reaching the 5,000 subscribers on this channel, and since I asked you for your questions, the channel keeps growing and I'm just so happy that you're here and I hope that I can answer all of your questions today. So this one is from Jaladi Pujala, sorry for my pronunciation. Are you still doing plein air work? I am not. The plein air work that you've seen me doing on this channel is most likely a few pieces that I did because I teach sketchbooking and travel journaling class on Saturday mornings when I was preparing for my class, and because I wanted to have some pieces to show, to advertise for the class, to, make it look good, make people want to come. I made a few plein air pieces at that time. I also did a little bit of it last year, but really I think it's not my thing. I don't enjoy being outdoors much, and if I am drawing outside, first it is most likely drawing rather than painting. But yeah, short answer is no, I am not. Maybe I will get back to it, but really I just prefer to draw things. So if I'm drawing outside, I am more likely to draw at the greenhouse, a plant, or at the museum, some statues. And even if I am drawing in plein air, I will look for the statues and the details in my city rather than depicting the environment. From Mr. Two Goobs, what's your approach to framing your work? So I haven't done many pieces that are finished, that are completed and worth framing, but my approach would be to try to work as much as possible in the same standard format so that I can buy frames, in just standard frames that are cheaper, and yeah, just have standard mats, standard frames, work in the same format, so that would be cheaper and just a lot more convenient than having to get my work professionally framed or having to frame it professionally myself. And I like to have a frame that matches the level of contrast of the piece. So if it is a piece with a lot of contrast, I don't want a very light, faint frame that isn't going to support and frame the artwork. And if it is a drawing that is very delicate, think about a very light graphite drawing, not without a lot of contrast, so everything is quite pale and subtle. I don't want a very thick and dark frame around it that is going to take all of the attention away from the piece. This is from Isabelle Cléroux, I think it is a French name. Can you share your opinion on the benefits of different ways to develop drawing skills? For example, tracing an image, drawing from observation of an image, an object like a 3D object, drawing from imagination. I tend to think that tracing or copying 2D is less beneficial, but I see that your school suggests these ways, and your example are very inspiring. Thank you so much. My opinion is strongly influenced by New Masters Academy and especially by Joshua Jacobo, because I'm taking a lot of classes with him and I agree. His points make sense, and when I study with him and when I do what is recommended at New Masters Academy, I get results. So basically the way I see drawing, and I am taking it from Mike Matesi, this is something that he talks about in Drawing with Force, and I am going to paraphrase because it's been a long time and I don't remember it exactly, but basically you have 3 different skills in drawing and he symbolizes it by 3 different organs. The first one is the eye. It is your observation skills, the ability to see what you look at. The second one is your brain. It is your analysis abilities, your way to understand what you're seeing, and also all of the knowledge that you have that allows you to see better. If you are an art student or if you've been learning about art for any amount of time, maybe you've learned about the plumb line, maybe you've learned about the laws of light or perspective, and you probably noticed that when you learn these things, you see the world differently. You notice a lot more things. That's the brain, but it works with the observation, and yeah, they kind of feed one another. And the third one is the hand, and it is your ability to accurately make a mark on the paper. Is your hand doing what you want. So can you observe your subject? Can you understand it, analyze it, and bring your knowledge to it? And finally, also important, is your hand actually doing what you want it to do? You can go draw from life a nude model, so it's very complex, and try to work on everything at once. It's like the most difficult way to do it. Or you can have a more strategic approach to your learning and try to target different skills. I'm gonna start even with the lowest thing, or what would appear to be the lowest. Tracing an image is going to work mostly on the hand, on your ability to make marks, and this is not an easy thing. If you trace a masterful drawing and you try to think about your posture and you try to have the nice grip and make the best possible strokes, I mean, it is a beginner exercise, but it is not an easy thing and it is not a skill to underestimate. So you are working on something here. If you're tracing outlines, you will be confronted with overlaps. You should be thinking, you should be active. Tracing shouldn't be just a mindless thing, but you should be active and thinking about what you're seeing and taking notes about, oh, here there is this overlap and I didn't quite understand it, but I think it is because the thumb does something like this or whatever. It is valuable. You are learning something. Copying a 2D image is also going to work on your observation skills, your capacity of accurately seeing something and reproducing it. I feel like people maybe have a hierarchy of the drawing skills and what is really art and what is not really art, but I think that all of these skills are valuable, and how much you should practice each of them maybe depends where you are in your journey, how much of a beginner you are or how experienced you are, and if you are experienced, where are your problems? Are you mostly lacking in the fine motor skills? Is it limiting the kind of marks you can make? Are you mostly lacking in the brain skills? It sounds so bad. But that was my case when I joined the New Masters Academy, because I had good observation skills and I had good mark making skills. I was not a beginner, but from an outsider perspective, you know, people said I was talented and I passed as good as at copying images. But I didn't have foundations, I didn't have the understanding of what I was doing, I didn't have a strong process. That was mostly limiting me. And I think I am going in all sorts of different directions with this question because it is a very interesting one. Yeah, I am very influenced by the approach at New Masters Academy. They have this advice that you should spend half of your time studying, so doing the courses, doing the tracks in the order, and half of your time in your personal projects. And during these personal projects, you should have 1/3 for master studies, so it is copies, or it doesn't have to be a one-to-one copy, but studies from masterful drawings or artists who you want to emulate or who inspire you. 1/3 of drawing from observation, so you know, you observe and you try to draw what you see, which is not easy and not inferior to other ways of drawing in any way. It is an important skill. If you're not able to draw what you see, what you put on the paper is not a choice. It is limited by your abilities, and before you can express anything, you must be able to reproduce what you see, because otherwise you're just not able to make the mark that you want to make. And in order to see your level, we have to compare your result to an objective standard, and you know, observing this table and this chair is an objective standard. Same would be a bark plate or a drawing that you copy. So anyway, 1/3 master studies, 1/3 observation, and 1/3 imagination. I am not touching much on drawing from imagination just because I'm not very interested in it. It is not the kind of art that I want to make. I am to some extent drawing from imagination because at the moment I am designing illustrations, and so I am making marks on paper that are not copying something that I see, but I am designing it. It is a form of drawing from imagination, but I am not trying to imagine a character or an animal or an environment. The thing is that for me, the ability to draw something nice from imagination, it comes from the knowledge that I have gained during my studies, doing the drawing foundations module at New Masters Academy. Because I know what a good drawing relies on, I can use it to try to make something as pleasant as possible from imagination. And I am thinking mostly about the courses from Steve Houston, Bill Perkins, and Glenn Villepou, because I took the composition class with Glenn Villepou. That's one side, and the other side is that if you're drawing something like a human being from imagination, it's going to rely mostly on your understanding of the human form and on the practice that you had and the knowledge that you acquired. It depends what you want to do. It is one skill, it is one part of the entire skill set of an artist. Hilone Gro Dibujo, which was your favorite work of 2024? It was the self-portrait in watercolor that I did for the watercolor portraiture class with Miles Yoshida. There are some drawing things that I would like to fix in this portrait, but it is my favorite work. I think it is the most impressive that I've done in 2024. I love using watercolor this way, and when I think about it, the first pieces that come to my mind for my favorite works of 2024, they're all watercolors. So I have this one, I have a few sketches that I can also think about, one that I did from a puppet of the Little Prince in the Puppet Museum here in Lyon, and another one that I did in the greenhouses that is of blooming camellias. It's always watercolor, and it's a shame because when I think about it, these are my favorite works. I loved doing them. I had very positive responses when I shared them online, and I love the result. Yet, right now I am really not working in watercolor this way, and it feels like something that I would like to do, but I don't have the time to do. And I wonder, why am I not doing that? Why am I not making another painting like this? Because I have all of the material and I should just be doing this. I have two questions from Albedo Mercurius. Can learning art at home via online classes replace going to a traditional art school? The question is what you want to get from art school. If it is the networking aspect, the social aspect, the structure of being at a physical school with other people really there around you, and the peer pressure to keep going and someone figuring out, I don't know, your schedule for you, and you want a degree, and that's an important thing for you, and you have the means to go, like it is accessible to you, or you can move and pay whatever it costs where you live, then yeah, I suppose the art school is superior. If you want to learn to draw, if you want to learn visual arts, I think learning online is superior for a few reasons. The teachers that you would get at New Masters Academy are just so incredibly masterful, and some of them are not with us anymore. You just couldn't get there most likely at your art school. And the classes that you take, the videos that you watch, it is not like if you were seated in any random seat in a room and having a weird view of a demonstration if the instructor does a demonstration, because they don't always do that. They don't always have time in real art school to do that. Yeah, the demonstration could be the best one, or it could be whatever, just the demonstration that happened that day. Here you get the best possible demonstration of a class that has been designed even more thoughtfully, because it is meant to be the class, it is meant to be permanent, it is meant to be the best possible version of this class, and you get the best view of it, and you can pause and you can come back. Yeah, I think learning from videos is superior in most levels. If you get feedback, if you follow the assignments and you get feedback, you also have this aspect of having the interaction, the feedback, the critiques, that is very important, and you want to implement them, of course. With online learning and with New Masters Academy, you could have a very different experience. You could just, pick some courses here and there and do your thing and not get feedback, or you could go all in, and of course it is going to be more expensive, but it stays less expensive than a traditional art school in most places, or you could have a lot more mentorship and critics and time in front of a very qualified person that is going to give you the best possible advice. Maybe more than you would get at an art school. And I have to say that I haven't been to an art school, so it isn't really fair for me to compare. I just spent 3 days at an art school doing a workshop in April 2023. I still think online learning is superior. The thing also, when you go to a traditional art school, even when you pay, there is a selection, there is a portfolio that you have to show, and they're going to pick the best or potentially best students. When you get to New Masters Academy, it can be your first time touching a pencil. You say, yeah, you want to learn to draw, and they're going to say, yeah, amazing, welcome, let's get started. As I said, I wasn't a beginner when I started. A lot of these things I knew already and it felt a little bit long, but I still learned some things. That's a difference in the approach, the way they teach. It is not a selected few who can start learning and then by the end they're good, but they were also the best ones when they started. Literally anyone can learn to draw with this system. For me, that's a very deep difference between traditional learning and online learning. When you get a critique, it is never a way to assess your level or to compare you to someone else or to judge you. When you're at school, that's what it is. You get a grade, and that's in order to sort the students and evaluate you. At New Masters Academy, it is never an evaluation. They're evaluating if you're getting the point of the lesson, but that's the only question. Is this assignment demonstrating that the student got the point of the lesson and that they're ready to move forward? It is always only in your interest and always constructive, and the only downside, the real downside that I see to online learning is that the motivation has to come from you. There is no schedule, no group, no one is going to help you get to work but yourself. It depends on you, and I will talk more about motivation later because there is another question. What major things should someone who wants to learn art at home know before starting? Basically everything I just said, and I think the major thing is addressing this problem of motivation and the fact that nobody is going to help you get to work, you have to motivate yourself. I've been sharing a lot about how I approach my studies, practical considerations. I have a studio tour on this channel as well. I shared how I take my notes. I made a video about all of my advice for New Masters Academy students, and another one about time blocking and scheduling and the time aspect of organization. So yeah, if you want to study art on your own, I recommend these videos where I go in depth into these questions. But to try to give you one advice that is immediately useful, that would be that getting to work is going to be harder than if you were at a traditional art school. This is just a fact. So I think that you should try to make it as easy as you possibly can. Try to have a dedicated space if it is possible. Try at least to have a drawing board, your paper and your tools ready and very easy to grab. You want to reduce the friction for you to start your drawing session or your studying session and make it as easy as possible. And I shared a lot about note-taking and organization of your files, because if you learn online, it is going to involve some files. I recommend that you do that, but the core advice is make it as easy as possible for you to get to work on a day-to-day basis, because it's going to take a lot of time. That would be also a thing that someone who wants to start learning art from home should know, and that I didn't know. I thought I was going to study for 3 or maybe 6 months. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. I'm still there. Probably for a decade or something. From Tide to Death, could you explain us your note-taking system, please? I am going to send you to the video that I made about note-taking. That's just my best explanation. I can't do the video again. If your question is more about what I write in my notes, yeah, I guess it changes from class to class and it's been evolving recently. I explained everything in these videos, so I don't want to just spend too much time on this one. This is by Green Valley Boy. Who are your favorite artists and why? That would be Alphonse Mucha. I know, very, very basic, but I mean, he's iconic for a reason. It is absolutely stunningly beautiful. But I think it is because when I was a little girl, I've seen some art inspired by him. I don't believe it was his art, and it was probably bad as well, but it was inspired by his style and it just made a very strong impression on me. There is something that isn't explainable about the art that I like or that anybody likes. It's like asking, why do you like cheese? Well, because it's great. I am just drawn to certain aesthetic elements and less to others. So I am drawn to green, I am drawn to strong verticals, I am drawn to anything Art Nouveau, I am drawn to anything stained glass related. I am noticing that I love ornamental art. I have, by the way, I have a William Morris stick-up right here that I'm looking at, but I am very drawn to patterns, and I think it is because there is something fascinating for me about the repetition of elements. It is pleasing, and it is, I say to me, but I think it is a shared experience. There is just something pleasant and fascinating, and you want to get lost in it and understand the way things repeat and are slightly different and how it's moving, and it is just great. And there is some of that in Muka's art because there is a strong decorative element that I love. Yeah, I think you know Bill Perkins' teaching, and so I am also more drawn to more notan compositions rather than chiaroscuro. So I prefer compositions where the local value and color of different elements, for example, that would be my skin, my hair, my sweater, their local value creates a stronger contrast than the contrast between light and shadow overall. So I am not in a notan situation right now because I have a strong light on this side and much weaker on the other side. Yeah, that was Muka. There is also William Morris. Why? Because it is incredibly beautiful. I don't know any floral pattern that is nearly as good as what he's done. I can see a lot of imitations and they're bad, but William Morris, just amazing. In terms of painters and fine artists, I love William Bouguereau. It is just so beautiful and so graceful and delicate without being cheesy. There is an intensity and a softness. It is just so stunningly graceful. And I've seen one of his paintings in real life in Strasbourg. It is Virgin Comforter, I think in English. And yeah, it is stunning. I love Andrew Wyeth for the feeling of space and cold and calmness. Yeah, there is something very haunting and beautiful, and it is done with taste. Totally subjective here. It isn't too much. It is magical realism, but it's not in your face and it's not completely subtle either. And I just feel something that I love in his paintings. The way of being realistic, but at the same time very designed. It has a very clean feeling, very minimalistic in some areas, but at the same time a lot of details in others. I just love it. Just to give one more illustrator, that would be Kane Nielsen. I think I already said why I love his work so much. I like this juxtaposition of very minimalistic areas with a lot of detail and the repeating patterns and the strong verticals and the delicatness. Yeah, I find this in his work as well, and that's something I really love. This one is from Hydro Art. Do you get an art diploma after the courses you take? No, I do not. As I mentioned, New Masters Academy is in the process of being accredited to deliver diplomas. When they are, I will still not get a diploma because I wouldn't have taken the accredited program. Personally, I am completely fine with it because I am not aiming to be employed by somebody for my art. That's just not the lifestyle that I want. And so for me, the most important thing is that my work shows what I am capable of. I'm not here for a diploma, I am here to learn art and I want my art to speak for itself, so yeah. This one is anonymous, it was via email. Just not gonna read it all because it is anonymous. Your videos help motivate me to keep going. That makes me very happy because that's really what I want this channel to be. I want it to be an inspiring place and I want to create the kind of content that I would like to see. Hearing that it inspires you to keep going, to study art, to make art, that's just making me very happy. So that said, it is a real challenge to get myself to work on NMA assignments. Of course, as I said, it is the main difficulty with online learning. That's again very kind. I am so impressed with how hard you worked this past year to complete the module. Would you mind talking more about how you motivate yourself or have the discipline to keep going? Yes, sure. One thing that I want to say first is that what you're watching is a YouTube video. I am being as transparent as I can, and I want to share the experience as authentically as I can, and I am not intentionally trying to make it look nicer than it is, but it is still a curated video. What I want to say basically, I think I may give an impression of discipline that I don't necessarily have in my day-to-day life. So when I say that I completed the drawing foundations module in a year and 3 months, you may think that I've been doing consistent work during this time and that I was very disciplined. In reality, I don't feel as disciplined as this. There is an aspect of discipline, yes, that is important, that I strive for. I try to build some habits because it just makes getting to work easier on a day-to-day basis. I like my routines, but the other side of it is that when something happens, even if I just sleep elsewhere for one night, I am completely thrown off of my routine and it takes me a long time to reset. And so in reality, the path isn't like this, it's more like this. And I had moments of burnout, I had moments when I stopped, and I am also not blindly disciplined, like wake up in the morning and get to work no matter how you feel, and you just keep going and you ignore all of your feelings and it's all about discipline and you're just your own slave and your own master and that's the way it is. Yeah, that doesn't work for me. Some discipline is good, let's not be stupid about it. The way that I motivate myself to keep going is that when I think about it, I don't feel a strong motivation on a day-to-day basis. I sometimes feel it and I'm excited and I'm very happy to be doing what I'm doing now, but I don't feel burning with motivation every day. But I've never been demotivated either. And I think it comes from two convictions that I have. The first one is I want to become a great artist. That's deep, that's true, that's there. And the second one is that studying and following the tracks at New Masters Academy is the shortest, best way for me to get there. I haven't always been as convinced as I am now, of course, but quickly it appeared to me, and I had been taking courses on other platforms very quickly, it appeared to me that was the best way. People say that you should learn the fundamentals because there is no shortcut, you must work. I've never seen it that way. I've never seen learning the fundamentals as extra work and not learning them as the shortcut. To me, this path, following the courses, following the tracks at New Masters Academy, was my shortcut. That's the reason why I was never demotivated. I've talked about it in my video where I did a review of the Drawing Foundations module and 1 year at New Masters Academy, everything that I did. When I was taking the courses, the feedback system was a little bit different. At the time it was in beta, and so to get feedback you had to submit every assignment in the order of the courses, and you couldn't skip any and you couldn't skip a class. That made it very easy for me because I want to study this module and there is no way around the next assignment, so you just do it. Sometimes I don't feel motivated and I don't want to do it, and when that happened, I ask myself two questions. Maybe I can pare it down to one question, but that is, okay, if you're not studying, what would you be doing instead? That's the small picture question, and the bigger picture question is, okay, you feel tired of studying in general. If you were not studying art right now, what would you be doing with your life? And when I think about it, there is nothing I could be doing that is nearly as important and meaningful and that makes me nearly as happy as what I am doing right now. This always puts me back on track. Of course, you take breaks. I took breaks. Sometimes you need it. Sometimes the answer to if you don't want to be drawing, what would you be doing instead is I want to see someone I love, or I want to sleep, I need to sleep, or I need to go outside, it's been 2 weeks, I need to touch grass or something. And in that case, yeah, the best answer might be to not study and do that, but in most cases, for me, if it's just laziness, it puts me back on track. I don't feel very disciplined on a day-to-day basis. I don't feel very motivated in the sense that I'm not Rocky or anything, but I have this thing that I want strongly, and I have this conviction that I am on the best path to get it. I hope that helped. I really do, because I know that it is hard. I think you're doing the right thing if that helps. You just take it one assignment at a time, one lesson at a time. The sooner you start, the sooner you finish. Sometimes it just feels tedious, it just feels boring. If you can't get yourself to enjoy it and to do your best in the task, if you just can't, well, you just have to do it. Okay, I have a few questions from Christian. How do you balance your personal life with your artistic career? Do you have any routines or habits that help you maintain that balance? I really don't. It's mostly my artistic career, and my personal life takes very little space, very little energy. I don't have children, I don't have a lot of responsibilities, personal responsibilities. I don't even have a dog or a cat. I am making the choice to mostly dedicate myself to art. It is not something that I advise anyone doing. Having a personal life is important. I am not making any sacrifice. This is just making me incredibly happy, but I have a very minimal social life, very few distractions in my life. I don't balance. So do you have any routines or habits that help you maintain that balance? I really don't. It is one of my intentions this year to not be working inside all the time and get some fresh air and just have a more healthy lifestyle. So I'm just trying to go for a walk every day. I like to walk by the river in my city, and it is very enjoyable. I don't know if you can call this a personal life or a routine to maintain balance, but that's pretty much it. How do you relax or unwind when you're not working on your artistic projects? Again, maybe that's very sad. I do not. That's something that I will be trying to change at some point, but the thing is, I have a lot going on. So my artistic projects are not actually taking most of my time. What I am doing right now, I have this YouTube channel, also an Instagram account if you want to follow me there. I try to share some interesting things as well. Social media. I am involved in New Masters Academy as a cohort assistant for the 2-year program, so that's a responsibility also. I give classes on Saturday mornings. I give an art class. It is a sketchbooking and travel journaling class every Saturday morning. I have a small business, personal art, and I also study art online. And that's a lot. I wish I had more time, but I wouldn't complain about this because I like having very different activities in my life. Mostly the way that I unwind from one activity is working on something else. And that's, again, not an advice, that's not ideal. I probably work too much, but I don't have distractions. We don't have a TV. I don't play video games. I think it's been a year since I watched a movie. Probably not. I must have watched something. I just walk by the river, and I also enjoy eating nice things. Oh, and I try to knit. Actually, I am wearing a hand-knit sweater right now. It is the Calliope sweater by Sari Nordlund, and I used to be heavily into knitting. At the moment and for the past year, I really haven't had any hobby. I try to knit a little bit, but I need almost to force myself to get to it just because I don't have time. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting out with drawing and feels like they don't have enough innate talent? That's another question I could spend an entire video on. Do not deny the fact that talent exists, and the way I see talent is that some people pick up some skills quicker than others. For example, it was very difficult for me to learn to drive. That was awful, and I still hate driving, but I still was able to learn to drive. And some people run faster and things like that. When we talk about art, probably some people will pick it up quicker than others, but I believe that talent is the least important factor of your success in terms of how good your art is going to be. Because representational art is difficult, and learning to draw, learning to paint is a lot about going against your natural tendencies. One example is that teachers tell a lot to go from general to specific. First, the big picture, establish the entire thing, and then get into the details. And that's not a natural way to work for anybody. We overfocus on details and we make them too big and we lose track of the whole. That's the natural tendency, and it is not about talent, because you can be very talented, you're still going to do this. Actually, I would have had the same answer a couple years ago before I started studying, but I wouldn't have been as convinced as I am now. The most important part is what you learn and the work you do, and it is not how much talent you have to start with. I think I was talented when I joined New Masters Academy. I've always been the art kid, and growing up and in general people said In French, we say avoir un bon coup de crayon, so that's to have a nice pencil stroke. People would say that about me. And right today, this sentence, it's almost triggering to me because I disagree just so much about it. But that was my situation. And today, anything that can be good about my art, I think comes from what I've learned and not from the talent that I had or whatever. Also, talent isn't something that you can control, and your natural ability, it is what it is. So I would argue that's really not important and really not worth thinking about because you can't do anything about it. The only thing that is important in your question is that you want to study art. That's it. You can only make progress if you're studying from a good source and applying yourself. The main thing about talent, it is irrelevant. And final question from Christian, if you could collaborate with any artist living or historical, who would it be and why? It is a very difficult question, seriously. Because it sounds so serious. So the first thing is that in terms of collaboration, I am not good at collaborating. So that would be more like an artist who I would study under. And it might be William Morris. Or just randomly thinking about Pierre-Joseph Redouté, the botanical artist. Really, I don't know. It is a very serious question and it's of course never going to happen. So I don't know why I'm taking this so seriously, but it's difficult for me. So this one is from Ciara. How do you manage running a small business alongside studies? So I have a brand and an online shop. It is taking me the least amount of time because I've designed it to take me the least amount of time this year because I am dedicating a lot more of my time and energy into art than in this business. So I am only working with pre-orders this year and all of my newsletters are scheduled, all of my social media posts are scheduled, and in terms of how I manage everything with my art studies and to make the most out of time, I like to time block and to dedicate specific days to specific things. For example, Monday morning is when I do admin related. I do my accountants, I don't know how to say it, emails that I haven't responded to during the week, and all of it goes on Monday morning. And when it is over, it is over. I do not think about it until the next week. Everything social media related is on Fridays. This is right now, I am recording on a Friday, and that's when all of this happens. And when it is done, I don't think about it. All of my videos are scheduled. I usually batch record, so I wouldn't record just one video at a time. I try to make the most out of my time by batching some things and dedicating days to specific tasks because I am not good at switching tasks, and if I try to do everything in the same day, it's just not working for me. From Figs Arts and Crafts, I like how you organize your art supplies. Can you make a video on that? I need ideas. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you. That's sad because I actually just recorded a studio tour like 2 weeks ago and it was a very difficult video to record. I recorded it, it took an hour, and I was talking to the camera like this and also holding my phone and filming some videos like this with my phone. And when I had recorded all of the video, which took so much time and was so exhausting because I was sitting on the floor and moving the camera and just exhausting, showing every drawer, everything, I noticed that I got confused with my phone, and every time I thought I was starting the recording, I was actually ending it, and every time I thought I was stopping the recording, I was actually starting a recording, which means I ended up with videos of my phone being put in my pocket or whatever. But I wasn't discouraged. I just recorded it again on the same day, and then my brother edited it, and it was great. It was a great edit. I loved it, but the audio is just so bad that it was painful to listen to, and unfortunately it is not coming out. So, short answer, yes, I will make a video. I unfortunately have made it and I need to just make it again. But I will. I like talking about these things. From All Say Illustration, please tell more about these botanical drawings that you are showing on the recent videos. I have one here, so it is not my drawing, it is one of the plates. These plates that I've been copying lately, and I just stopped this recently. They're from a book called Nature Drawing and Design by Frank Steele, and it is a book to teach decorative art students how to make decorative designs from nature. So you get plates of botanical things, botanicals, and plates of ornaments based on those botanicals. I've just been doing master studies of this and having a great time doing so. I think I did 12 plates and there are 24 in total, but I probably won't be completing the book, and I am planning a video about this project as well. From Thomas, I notice you're interested in botanical art, plant patterns, art nouveau and product design. It strikes me you might want to consider textile or pattern design. I think it might suit you as it combines your various interests. Have you ever tried it? I haven't tried it. It's spot on. I would love to do that. Not only because it combines all of my interests and I would love doing it, but also because I wear a lot of patterned dresses and I love floral patterns, but sincerely I struggle to find good textile patterns. They exist. Yeah, most patterns on fabric are really bad in my opinion, and usually I'm thinking about a specific sheet set that I saw at IKEA that was just a bad imitation of William Morris, and there are good designs. I don't want to just trash everybody, but they're not the majority. I would like to do it, and I would also like to design my own fabrics for my own clothing because I don't find a lot of good quality patterns. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. How did you become such a good artist? How did you reach this level? This is a very flattering question. As I said, I talked about talent earlier. Again, I hope it doesn't come off as pretentious because to me, people who work hard have a lot more merit than people who have talent. Talent is not a great compliment to make or anything. But anyway, how did I reach this level? So I've said that when I started at New Masters Academy, I was not a beginner. The thing is that my parents actually met at an art school. So the thing is that I grew up seeing my mother paint and surrounded with art materials, and I was encouraged to draw, and I loved it. I showed interest and I was doing it a lot. So I think I just spent my entire childhood drawing, and because my parents had some training, when I had questions, they would give me advice. It wasn't proper training, but I was introduced to a lot of notions such as how do you copy an image using a grid, what are the basic proportions of the human face, what is perspective, how does it work, and I got a lot of advice, I got a lot of attention, I got a lot of encouragement. I think I was just drawing, writing, reading. That was my life. For this reason, I got good observational skills and I got good motor skills for drawing. Everything I know about drawing now comes from my studies at New Masters Academy, and it's been transformative. From Deborah, you mentioned you teach a travel sketchbook class. Where would I find it? Is it in English? It is not in English, and I am sorry you can't find it. It is just at a local atelier in the city I live in. The group is full. Even if you live in the same city, we are not taking any new students because it's been very popular, and at the moment I am beyond full capacity, so that's my class. This is from Diogo. Do you like Bandes-dessinées? If so, who are your favorite French authors? Like to listen to music when working with art? What kind of it? Is there a playlist suggestion? And being French has influenced your journey and work on art. So Bandes-dessinées, no, I don't like them. I mean, I don't have anything against them. It is just not something that I consume, really. I read Asterix growing up, of course, like many people. The ones I liked the most were Mélusine. I haven't read this in many years. And the other one was Gaston Lagaffe. If you're not familiar with Gaston Lagaffe, it is very funny. It's basically a salaryman in a dumb office job who isn't brilliant but thinks of himself as the smartest guy and the smartest inventor and comes up with silly ideas. It never ends well. This is not really a bande dessinée, but this is a piece of art that I am very fond of. The one I really like is called Le Petit Nicolas, and Le Petit Nicolas is Sampé and Goscinny, and Sampé is the artist. It is not a bande dessinée because the text and the illustrations are separate, but the illustrations play such a strong role. It's just the adventures of a little boy in Paris in the 50s going to school and having a funny life, and it's beautifully written and the illustrations are absolutely amazing. Very simple in execution, it is just black ink, sometimes, rarely, a touch of red, and they are incredible. In terms of music, yes, of course, I love music and I like listening to music when I draw, but the problem is that I do not have a musical culture, and in fact I am struggling to find music that I like to listen to. Like somewhat recently, I've been listening a lot to Kevin Penkin's OST from Made in Abyss. Incredible music, I love it. I think I've been listening to it repeatedly since 2020. I like some classical music. I struggle to find music that corresponds to my mood, but sometimes that happens and I get completely obsessed about one song or one piece of music and I just listen to that. Last year I was listening to Maurice Ravel on repeat, a French composer. Lately I've been listening to Swan Lake and Sherazade by Rimsky-Korsakov. Sorry for my Russian, I am sure this is not the correct way to pronounce it. I sometimes like to listen to old French varieties, so before the 70s. I like Barbara, I like Marie Laforêt. Maybe it's going to sound silly, I don't know. I've been obsessed with the song La Cavale by Marie Laforêt. I don't understand my own taste in music and I unfortunately do not have recommendations, but if you have some for me, I take them. And being French has influenced your journey and work on art. Yes, I think the place where you're born has to influence you because of just the culture of where you live, the nature around you, the architecture around you, just your visual environment, I believe has an impact on what looks right to you, on what looks normal. I am from Savoie, so it is in the French Alps. I love the mountains, I am a mountain girl, but I also spent a lot of my childhood in Lyon, where I live right now, and I lived in the most old part of the city. It is the Old Lyon. I believe it is the largest Renaissance district in Europe. I've read this somewhere, maybe it's not exactly true, maybe it's just because people love the city. But anyway, it is a very old district with very distinctive architecture, and I love Gothic architecture. There is also a cathedral. So yeah, this has influenced me. In terms of what France may be most known for artistically, I've never been to the Louvre. The fact is, I just didn't go to museums at all. I went to the Fine Arts Museum for the first time very recently in my own city, so this hasn't had an influence, but I visited Versailles when I was 9 as part of a school trip. Yeah, that's beautiful, to be honest. I don't think it had a magical impact on me. I was just exhausted during the trip. Yeah, the culture definitely has an influence. The kind of Bandes-dessinées you're exposed to, the literature, the architecture, the decorative arts around you, all of the traditional patterns, fabrics. I had a very weird, funny comment some time ago. Someone said that my French accent was giving me some authority to talk about art. I have to disagree, of course not. Why would it? I don't have anything to do with French accomplishments or failures or whatever. I just happen to have been born there, and there are things in our art history that I love, but I don't see this as a kind of advantage beyond the fact that I happen to live in a city where I have access to a fine art museum, and I feel very grateful for this, and I try to take advantage of it. This is from Vera. What inspired you to start a YouTube channel, and how much time do you dedicate to it? I try to dedicate 1 day per week to social media, no more than that. That's an average because sometimes I know that I won't be able to record or anything for a few weeks, and if I have some extra time, I may write a few videos in advance and record a few videos in a short amount of time, like 3 days, because I know that's trying to make the most out of my time because I have a lot on my plate. On average, my goal and something that I'm pretty much sticking to is 1 day a week for social media. So that's usually less than 2 hours to prepare some Instagram posts. I'm very simple on Instagram. I'm not trying to grow much or anything, but I just try to consistently post there. So I dedicate 2 hours a week to just do it, schedule, and not think about it anymore. And for YouTube, 1 video is 1 day of work. It is about 1 to 2 hours to write it. For a 20-minute video, it is easily 1 hour to record it. There is some setting up to do, and that's the reason why I like to record a few videos at once rather than just one, because when my place is set up like this, I prefer to take advantage of it. 3 to 5 hours of editing, depending on the video. I was getting better lately, so it was closer to 3 hours. And since January, my brother started doing the editing of these videos. Thank you, Mel. So I don't edit anymore, but actually I've been reinvesting some of this time into the marketing around the videos, so the thumbnails, making better descriptions, writing better videos. There is all of the marketing, so thumbnail, description, tags, making sure the links between videos and things like that. Titles. That can be 30 minutes to 2 hours per video. What inspired me to start a YouTube channel is that it is not my first YouTube channel. Before this one, I had a YouTube channel in French that was initially about knitting. Over the years, my interests shifted, and when I got serious about art, I tried to shift my channel to make it fit my current interests better, and it didn't work. And it was disheartening to have an audience who wanted something from me that I didn't want to give anymore. When I was doing content sincerely and talking about what I wanted to talk to, the video didn't perform. Of course, it's always bad to be affected by metrics on YouTube, social media, whatever, but that was just bad for my mental health, and I was just having a difficult time, and it made me resent my business at the time. That was kind of an existential crisis there. But I enjoy making videos, I enjoy sharing. When I get messages such as "your content inspires me to keep going" or "you inspired me to start studying art," this makes me incredibly happy, and as I said, I want to make the kind of content that I want to see. I just enjoy sharing this journey, so that's why I started the channel, and to have a clear distinction, and also because it makes a lot more sense for me, because I am in an English-speaking community and I am learning art in English, and the vast majority of the content I consume is also in English. I made this one in English. I wanted to document my journey because I intend to become a great artist, and you will get to either watch me succeed or fail, but that's what I want. I want to be able, when I get there, which is never going to happen, you never get there, but I want to be able to say, this is exactly how it happened. This is exactly what I did. This is the journey, and I think it is valuable to see it, to be able to witness it, rather than just hearing someone say, yeah, I just studied very hard and that's what you should do too, but you don't get to see this part of the process, you don't get to see what makes the art so valuable. To me, it is meaningful to share this. And the other reason is that I've been self-employed for a very long time, most of my working adult life. Maybe it is stressful, not very secure, difficult, yes, but it is a lifestyle that I really enjoy. And when I got serious about art and I knew that I wanted to be a professional artist, I also knew that I don't want to work at a studio, for example. I don't want to be employed by somebody. It just doesn't suit my personality, and that's not something I want, and that's the reason why I don't care about a degree, because a degree is just there to prove that you can do something to an employer, and I'd rather just do the thing myself. And I also don't see myself becoming a fine artist. Well, of course I see myself becoming a fine artist, but I mean the very traditional way of working with galleries or whatever fine artists do. What I am good at, and the way I built my previous business, and the way I am trying to build something here, is to have my own online presence, do my own thing, sell my art to people who are interested in it directly. And for that, I need to be present online, I need to have as many eyes as possible on my art. And that's also the reason why I am doing this YouTube channel. I love making the content, I love sharing the journey and all of that, but it is also one day of work per week in a life that is already very packed. I wish I had more time for my personal art, I wish I had more time for my studies. I can't just randomly give away one day every week to something. I am also seeing this YouTube thing as an investment and as something that is building towards the kind of artistic career that I want to have. I am assuming that you asked this question because maybe you want to make a YouTube channel yourself, and if it is the case, I hope you do it. It is a lot of work, it is emotionally difficult, but yeah, it's also great. And just like for drawing, I think the most important thing is that you want to do it. I think I had that too. When I watch a video that is very good, or when I watched my favorite YouTubers, I just had this feeling of, I want to do this too, and if you have this, I think you should start a YouTube channel and not overthink the reason behind it or anything, and you will find your voice as you make videos. I had like 200 videos before even starting this channel, and I just try to get better with every video. This one is from Arcajour12R. Which artists have influenced you most deeply? I think probably Alphonse Mucha, because of this impression that I had as a child, and I can picture the artwork, but I'm sure it wasn't from him, but it was probably a bad imitation of his style. When you have a piece of art making such a strong impression on you as a child, I think it stays with you always. So yeah, Ghibli, Disney again, because it was so, I don't know, emotional and meaningful to me and touched me, so I think it is influencing me. William Morris, because just so stunningly beautiful. Thinking about an influence who you could see in the kind of art that I make, I can't think about anybody because I can't think about an artist who I want to emulate everything about. So I think of artists and I think of different elements that I want to take and use to make my own thing, but I don't think my own thing has been done exactly. Maybe, I don't know, I am not sure. Thank you so much for all of your questions. They were great and I had a great time answering. Thank you so much for being here. I am again so happy that you want to follow my journey here. I have very exciting videos coming up. A lot of questions today were about art studies, and if you're interested in that, my latest video was about constructive figure drawing 1. It was a full review of the class that I took at New Masters Academy, so I will link it right now if you want to watch it. Thank you for watching this one, keep drawing, and I will see you in the next one.